As we celebrate Black History Month, we are looking back at key moments that happened right here in North Texas. Tonight, Dr. Martin Luther King's visit to the SMU campus. WFA's Brittany Moncrief spoke with people who met Dr. King that day.
We have come a long, long way in our struggle to make justice a reality for all men.
If these walls could whisper.
But we have a long, long way to go before the problem is solved.
Imagine the stories they'd echo, the people they've seen. But very few can give account to the day Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. took this stage.
In order to illustrate this, a bit of history is necessary.
March 17, 1966, SMU's McFarlin Auditorium.
This auditorium was packed.
2,700 seats.
You could hear a pin drop.
And Charles Cox was there to listen.
Members of the student body, ladies and gentlemen.
That's him seated right behind Dr. King. It's the only known picture from that day.
Well, I was passionate about civil rights, as many were at this school. And I wanted to hear from the person who was right in the middle of it all.
Charles was the Student Association's academic committee chair. They invited King to speak years prior, but because of John F. Kennedy's assassination in 1963, King wouldn't come until 1966.
Well, what I remember is that Bert and I drove out to Love Field, and he walked off the airplane with his assistant, whose name was Bernard Lee.
Charles and his classmate escorted Dr. King personally, taking him to meet with various religious organizations before coming to deliver his address at SMU. An hour-long speech about justice, integration, and civil rights.
The basic thing about a man is not his specificity, but his fundamentum.
He had no notes, and he drew you into what felt like a very deep and powerful conversation.
For in this decision...
Also listening from the balcony was another SMU student who was tapped on the shoulder and escorted to a room backstage.
Where there was Dr. King. I was so surprised, I'm nobody. I'm just an athlete.
Jerry Levias is the first Black football player to get an athletic scholarship in the Southwest Conference. He'd go on to play in the NFL.
The stuff that I had to go through and, having bodyguards and being threatened to be shot, being spit on and called all kind of names, and a chance to meet the Martin Luther King. It was unbelievable.
Jerry says he and Dr. King talked about religion.
I was more stunned, and I guess, it's like being baptized again. He told me, always be a believer.
He always said the arc of history bends toward justice. In the long run, we will succeed in reaching many of these goals that are still not met.
Struggle to suffer and sacrifice.
So, if these walls could whisper,
in order to be free,
they loudly echo stories of a movement.
I must be measured by my soul.
That still touches generations today.
We'll be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last. Thank you.
In Dallas, I'm Brittany Moncrief.